This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now we learn about the aspects of the cattle trace program worldwide and locally with Duane Toews and Chelsea Good.
Duane Toews tuning in once again here on AGam in Kansas, and an opportunity to catch up with Chelsea Good, Livestock Marketing Association. Chelsea, we think about industry issues and looking to the future, really some opportunities utilizing traceability that have some realistic impacts for people like those in Kansas with a new program they're working on.
Sure. Livestock markets are spending a lot of time on the traceability topic. Obviously, we're a place where lots of cattle are identified. We've got a current law that relates to adult beef cattle crossing state lines needing to be identified, but there's lots of conversations about could this be expanded or improved upon, and that's where I think Kansas and the Cattle Trace Pilot Project is really doing a good job of trying to get to know the new high-frequency RFID technology better.
We talk about speed of commerce was one of the things. This isn't a new concept. We talked about it 10 years ago, and unfortunately, we weren't ever able to get the traction that we really needed to move that forward. Speed of commerce, particularly at your organization's livestock auction markets, really is that, quote, pinch point that people talked about. Looks like we've addressed those issues pretty well.
Certainly working on them, and I think that that's what Cattle Trace is going to help with. This is a cyclical issue. It's something that seems to come back, every 5 years or so. But people ask what's different today, and what we're trying to figure out is this new technology different enough? We have lots of data on the low-frequency EID tags, but with those tags, you have to catch animals in a chute and read them with a wand reader pretty close to their ear, one at a time. With the high-frequency EID tags, which is what Cattle Trace is testing out, you're able to run a group of cattle through an alleyway and read those cattle. That sure would make a big difference at the livestock auction market, particularly if those animals came in from the ranch already identified.
When we think about the buzz topic of blockchain and some of that technology that's out there, if other countries can do it, ultimately we're going to have to address this issue in the U.S. or we're going to lose market share.
So as it relates to blockchain, I haven't seen people in the U.S. using that a lot in the livestock space, but we see a lot of people that are really kind of analyzing it. Really, it's a place or a way to hold data. And so it's certainly a tool that we're looking at about, what is the future. As you talk about other countries, you certainly have other countries with traceability programs that vary from our own. Some of them, like Canada, those cattle are mandatorily ID'd, but they're not necessarily being read in the livestock markets for the reason that you talked about. It's a speed of commerce issue. So in the U.S., we're trying to take a slow, measured approach, figure out if we can do it better, and if we can figure out some of these issues, especially addressing them with the adult animals in the current program, that's probably going to be the best way to do it, is focusing on those currently covered animals.
Chelsea, other issues that you specifically and LMA are looking at?
Probably the other big one on our end is livestock payment protection. When there's an unfortunate situation and a livestock dealer fails to pay for livestock, right now there's not a whole lot of recovery. If you're a producer and you sell at market, you're covered because the market's got a custodial account and the market's left holding the bag. But if you're a producer that sells to a dealer in the country, you could be caught with a bad check. And so Congressman Marshall of Kansas has a bill to create a dealer trust. It's called the SALE Act. And it would just give those unpaid sellers of livestock first priority to either get the livestock back, or if they've been resold, the proceeds are receivables. We think this would make a big difference in this space.
Well, our thanks to Chelsea Good with the Livestock Marketing Association joining us here on AGam in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Duane. Come back after the break for this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update.
I had this horse. It was a good horse, except for when the wind was blowing above 30 miles an hour. The wind was blowing about 35, 40, and I saddled him up, rode him out to the end of the lane, and I thought, well, he's doing pretty good. And about 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulder sure hurt. I kept waiting, and it didn't get better, and so I went to orthopedic surgeon, and that showed that I had torn rotator cuff. And said, well, I have to do surgery. I thought, I farm and ranch by myself. This is not going to work out very well. I'd been sleeping in my recliner for about 2.5 years because it hurt too much to sleep in bed on my side. I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio. Gotten down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over. They just took some fat out of my side here and spun that down for about 45 minutes and then injected it in my shoulders, and I was on my way. It's something you don't hear about, but I thought it was worth a try, and I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.